So today we are going to recall how to simplify surds. This is what surds look like. They are irrational numbers. And if we press square root of 17 on our calculator, we should all get 4.123 ... and it goes on forever. And that's why these numbers are surds. Let's try another one. Let's try the square root of 2. 1.414 ... Try it yourselves, please. So if the number underneath the square root sign isn't a square number, like these examples, it would be a surd. So these red numbers down here are not surds, because we should all recognise that root 16 will give us 4, because 4 times 4 is 16, and root 4 should give us 2, and root 9 would give us 3. So it's these numbers up here that would be examples of surds, and we're going to recall today just how to simplify those. There are, though, 3 rules that we should remember and have on the back of our minds as we are simplifying surds. We need to be able to recognise them. So if we say rule 1, first one maybe that we could call 1 is root x times root x. This will always give you x, and I'm going to show you why that is with some numbers. If I say root 4 times by root 4, the numbers are equal. Should this give me 4, like the rule states above? Well, let's work out. Root 4 is 2, and root 4 is 2, and yeah, 2 times 2 is 4. So that proves that root 4 times root 4 is 4, doesn't it? Let's try another one, see if it works. Root 16 times root 16. According to the rule at the top, written in black, that should give me 16. Let's just see if that happens. Root 16 is 4, and root 16 is 4. Yeah, 4 times 4 is 16. So this rule up here is very, very, very important. I want you to look out for that on this video as we do our examples together. And the next rule, let's say rule 2. Okay, looks like this. Root x times root y should be root x times by root y. Okay, so let's have a little look why that works. If I use 4 times 9, so the square root of 4 times 9, so underneath the square root sign, we've actually got 4 9s are 36, don't we? And then we should all know that a root 36 is 6. Now, the rule says we can split the numbers up separately. So let's try that over here on the right-hand side. Is root 4 times root 9 actually equal to 6? So let's go ahead and work it out. Root 4 is 2, and then root 9 is 3, isn't it? And 2 times 3, yes, indeed, is 6. So that rule works as well. And we need to look out for that rule today. Revising again. Okay, so rule 3. Rule 3. And this rule is division now. So I'm going to say x divided by y. And we should be able to split these numbers up as well. Is root x divided by root y. Let's show you how that works with some numbers. So I've chosen to use x as 36 and y as 4. And if we look underneath the square root sign, we've actually got 36 divided by 4, which is 9, isn't it? And what is the square root of 9? Well, it's 3. Apparently, rule says we can split underneath the square root sign up into 2 separate numbers. So let's do that. So I'm going to say root 36 divided by root 4. Let's work out the numerator separate. So it's root 36 is 6 and root 4 is 2. And what is 6 divided by 2? Yeah, it's 3. So that rule will come in handy as well. So let's have a little look at some examples together. I'd like us to focus on the square root of 80. Okay. So I'm going to use rule 2 here, and I'm going to split root 80 up into 2 numbers that I know when multiplied will give me 80. Can I start then please with root 4 times by root 20. Now, can we evaluate root 4? Yeah, we can say root 4 is 2. I've got rid of the square root sign, which is great. That's what I want to do. Now, root 20. 20 is not a square number, it's a surd. But can I split root 20 up? Yeah, I can. I can say root 20 is root 4 times root 5, isn't it? And when I do that, I notice that that square root of 4 will give me 2. It's a square number, isn't it? And then times by root 5 will have to stay as root 5. It's a surd. And then just to tidy that up at the end, we've got 2 times 2 is 4, and I should have 4 root 5. So root 80 will simplify to 4 root 5. I'm going to try the same number again and show you a much faster way though. I'm going to write it in red. So let's say root 80 again. And now, what other 2 numbers multiply together to give 80? And I recognise that 16 times 5 gives me 80. Now look how fast I'm going to answer this question now. Root 16, square root of root 16 is 4, isn't it? So that's 4 times root 5, which is just 4 root 5. That was much easier. What was the biggest difference here in this question? So here, instead of using 4, I chose 16. Now these are both square numbers, aren't they? But the 16 is the biggest square number of the 2. And that's why it was much quicker to answer the question. So always look out for the biggest square number. I am now going to show you root 80 again, but very slowly. So again here, on this first time, we found a square number 4 to use. It wasn't that long, was it? And here, much quicker, was 16. But what happens if you don't use a square number? So let's have a go again. Root 80. But imagine if I didn't notice a square number. So let's say root 10 times root 8. Both of these are surds because 10 and 8 are not square numbers. So I've got to break these down even further. So root 10, I am going to say root 5 times root 2. And root 8 over here would be root 2 times root 4. Now, is there anything I can do here with these? Do I have any square numbers? Yes, I do. I have. This is a square number here now. So the next line down will be root 5 times root 2 times root 2. And the square root of 4 is simply 2. And then I notice in the middle, I have these two. What is root 2 times root 2? So the root 2 times root 2, that takes us back to rule number 1. I'm just going to remind you what rule number 1 was. It was root x times root x is x. So down here, root 2 times root 2 should give me 2, shouldn't it? So I've got root 5 times 2 times 2. And then 2 times 2 will give me the 4. And then that's 4 root 5. And we knew it was going to be 4 root 5 because we did it twice on the other page. But can you see how long this answer is? And the reason it's longer is because I didn't find a square number at the beginning, did I? Okay, so I'm going to give you guys a chance to have a go now on this page. So I would like you guys to try root 40 for yourselves. Can you come up with more than one way of doing this, please? And we'll do the answer again in a moment. Okay, so root 40. I'm hoping that you found a square number. I've chosen root 4 times root 10. And root 4 will give me 2. And root 10 will give me root 5 times root 2. But look what happens here. Am I getting anywhere by changing root 10 to root 5 times root 2? I'm not, am I? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that a little bit neater as root 10. So my final answer is 2 root 10. Did anybody else do it a different way? Over here, let's do it in a different colour. Root 40. Anybody choose root 8 times root 5? Now, we haven't found a square number here. I found a square number over here, didn't I? Now, let's see if this way is a bit slower. Root 8 is not a square number, so I'm going to say root 4 times root 2. And I can't break root 5 down any further. I've got root 4. That gives me 2. I can get rid of the square root sign. And I can't seem to do anything with root 2. And I can't seem to do anything with root 5. So I'm just going to tidy that up as root 10. So my final answer is 2 root 10. Same answer as before, just a little longer. Okay, so how do we assess these Surds at GCSE? Well, you could see a question written like this. Write root 48 in the form K root 3, where K is an integer. Now let's have a little look what this means. Write the square root of 48. So that must be the question. I have to simplify. And it wants me to give the answer in the form K root 3. So that means that's what my answer's going to look like, where the K is just a whole number, an integer. So let's just go ahead and simplify root 48. Now we said before, it's always better to find a square number and the largest square number that we can. So what is the largest square number that will divide into 48? Well, I think it's 16. So I'm going to say 16 times by 3. 16 is a factor of 48. And now I recognise 16 as a square number, and the square root of 16 is actually 4. I can't go any further with root 3, so my answer just is 4 root 3. And I think I'm right because in the question it tells me that my answer is going to look like k root 3. Does my answer look like k root 3? It certainly does. And what would the value of k be? Well, the k must be 4. So I know that I am correct. So on the next page, I'm going to leave you guys with a couple of questions. And I want you to pause the video and have a go by yourselves. So number 1, can you simplify root 24, please? Number 2, can you simplify root 120? And number 3, simplify root 20. Have a go by yourselves, please. Okay, let's see what answers we have. So root 24, what two numbers multiply together to give 24, and hoping 1 is a square number. So we should have noticed that it was root 4, root 6, and root 4 will give me 2. So the answer is 2 root 6. For 120, we should have noticed the largest square number that will divide into 120 is 4. So root 4, root 30. And I can't break root 30 down. So this is going to be 2 root 30. That's as far as we can go with that one. Root 20, you should have noticed it was 4 again. Root 4 times root 5. And root 4 will give me 2. So the answer here is root 5. How did you guys get on? I hope you did well.